Welcome to the People's View. I'm your host, Carl Seidel. The People's View is sponsored by the Nashua Republican City Committee, and you can find out more about the activities of the committee by going to its website, nashuagop.org. We meet on the second Thursday of the month at the Crown Plaza Hotel Auditorium, and we'd like to see you there.
Welcome to the People's View, a program dedicated to discussing local, state, and national issues and their effect on the American people. The People's View provides a platform for state representatives and national figures to present their viewpoint. Whether it's social, economic, or financial topics, you'll hear it on the People's View.
Hello and welcome to the People's View. I'm Carl Seidel, and I'd like to wish you a Merry Christmas, and I hope your holidays have not been dampened by the snow we've had. And today, our guest is David Deane, who's going to be the new chairman of the Board of Aldermen for the town. David, welcome aboard.
Thank you. How are you doing, Carl?
Okay. Well, we had you down here before when we had all the candidates running for the four-year term.
Yeah, we had a little discussion amongst us.
And must have been good because you came in top in the voting last November.
Got out and pounded the pavement, and my family helped me out a lot. A lot of people helped me out, and we were successful. And I'm grateful to those who voted for me, as well as those who helped me out, and whether it be financially or standing at the polls, like my daughter did for about 16 hours. And
oh boy!
Oh yeah, she was. She was cold, but we had it was a good time, and you know, I'm glad it's over and we've moved on, and we've.
This is what term on
this
the
will be my fourth. I
term.
Spent one 4-year term as a Board of Public Works Commissioner,
mm-hmm.
and then I went from that to the Board of Aldermen, and I've served on the Board of Aldermen ever since.
So you've been in that business of for a while. You
know
what's going on. I guess that might have something to do with you being chosen as the chair, just your experience and your working with all the people that are still there.
Well, you would hope that that's the case. I mean, my time on the board, I always looked at and respected my elders when they ran, and I never, would sit there and contemplate whether I'm going to, run against them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Although, any at-large alderman can run for the 2 leadership positions of the board. I always thought it was, only appropriate to, to allow them to fulfill what they wanted to do. So this time around, I decided to run, and I was successful, and we had our caucus, and I was elected as board president, but it's not really official until the inauguration on the
and the inauguration is the first Sunday in January?
First Sunday in January at the North High School. I believe it starts at noontime.
Okay.
It's open to the public, and if you have an interest in attending,
and
come on down.
To talk to you afterwards too?
Yep, absolutely.
Good.
We'll be milling around afterwards. I think they're going to have a little food, and I know there's an inauguration committee that was put together, which consists of one newly elected alderman, one alderman that is leaving, as well as an alderman that's staying.
I see.
So, who was reelected, but normally they'll take the 3, and they put them together as a committee, and they meet with the city clerk, and they do all the formalities and arrangements and things of that nature. So, and that's already taken place. So, that's all done.
So have you talked to people now about who's going to chair what committees and all that sort of stuff, or you still have to do all that?
I still have to sit down, and I'm going to try to do that this weekend. I sent my colleagues a committee survey and asked them to prioritize what committees they would like to chair or vice chair or serve on, and what liaison positions we currently have. There were 30 on the books. I looked at 4 of them that were no longer functional, so we took those off, but I have to bring legislation in to abolish them. And I should have all the surveys in. We gave them, you know, till tomorrow to get them done, and for the most part, we've got a majority of them in. We're still waiting for the legislative manager's still waiting for 3 or 4 of them, and then I'm gonna sit down and go through them and take a look at it and look at what people have requested. I'm gonna try to, you know, I'm not gonna be able to meet all of the requests that people have, but I'm gonna, you know, make sure that I try to do the best I can with what people have asked for, and I have to look at the, you know, I look at people's interests, which you'll see quite clearly on their surveys, what they have an interest in different areas they would consider serving in and things of that. And you want to put people, you know, in positions where they're going to attend and they're going to be, you know, part of the discussion and you know, whether they're a chair, a committee chair, a clerk, which is elected when the committee first meets. But, you know, and then sometimes you're placed on committees, you know, that we need to fill these positions up. Some of the committees require 5 aldermen, some require 7. For the most part, the liaison assignments are, there's usually there's a first position and then there's an alternate in the different
Replace it,
areas.
yeah.
So, you know, it'll be interesting to see what people have asked for, and I'm going to spend this weekend going through that, and then I'll be presenting them at the inauguration. So, and then the board will vote on it, and we'll start getting our business in order. And one thing I wanted to do, and what I've talked to people about doing, is I want to get our committee structures and meeting dates back to where they once were. This past term, you know, committees only met when they had legislation in front of them. Well, there's lots of times, you know, like planning and economic development, for instance. That's a very important committee, and basically there was a lot of meetings that had been canceled and things of that nature, and I want to set the structure back up and, you know, I'm not going to dictate to the committee chairs what days they have to meet. They can iron that out, what works best for them, and then just set up a schedule for the year where they have dates all booked, and whether there's legislation or not, I mean, then it'll be up to the committee chair whether they meet or not. But I think more often than not, you know, they can sit around and have some discussion about things. They can do some strategic planning and things of that nature.
They
So
get input then from the public too at those meetings?
absolutely, there's public comment on every committee agenda and every the full board agenda. There's always public comment.
So if that's happening routinely, then the people know when they're going to
Right.
have the opportunity.
So if they know that Human Affairs meets
Right.
on Mondays and Personnel meets on Thursdays and Finance meets every other Wednesday and Infrastructure meets the first and third Wednesday of the month or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
people will know that those are the dates that are scheduled, and if they'd like to come down and speak with members of the committee, come on down. I mean, public input is one of the best parts of government as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
You suggest that's the best way of people getting their comments heard, not waiting for the regular full aldermanic meeting?
well, you know, lots of times, I mean, the committees are set up for, you know, that's the area for discussion. So when any legislation or anything that's that's placed on the agenda by the chairman, that's where the debate and the discussion takes place. And, you know, normally when it goes to the full board, yeah, there's still some debate on some issues. But for the most part, most of the discussion is done at the committee level, which is a good
Details
thing.
are ironed out there and most of the...
Yeah, and then even
so.
members of the board who aren't members of a committee can still attend, and they,
Right.
you know, there's an ordinance in place that, you know, if they bring legislation in prior to that, if they brought legislation in, they couldn't amend it at all because they weren't a member of the committee.
Oh.
But we changed that so that the sponsor of the legislation, if they want to come in with some amendments to their own legislation, they can do that. And you know, that's worked out pretty well. So I mean, and most of my colleagues, when they bring a piece of legislation in, they'll attend the committee meetings to discuss with the rest of us, you know, what the purpose and the intent of the legislation is, and you know, we might, you know, whether we're on board or not as co-sponsors, we might have some questions. We might amend it, they might amend it to change it to, you know, things of that nature. So, you know, that's where the discussion takes place at the committee level.
So this is part of your major objective of being more transparent and more open to the public?
Absolutely. I want things done in a public setting. I'd like things done on a regular basis. And, you know, so the citizens can come down and give their input during the public comment session. And to try to, you know, we need, in my my opinion anyways, we need separation between the executive and legislative branches of city government. And, you know, I think there was some, you know, concern within the community that, you know, there was the administration was running the Board of Aldermen. And, you know, we're our own body. We make our own decisions. We set policy for the administration to carry out. That's our function. And the other thing I want to do is I want to, you know, I want to spend some time and loosen up the restrictions of our availability to city employees. I think, contrary to what anyone has to say, our availability or discussions with city employees is very limited. Now, under charter, we can suggest and recommend to city employees. We cannot give directives, which I don't believe anyone's been doing. But back in a number of terms ago, we used to have engineers and department heads would come and attend our committee meetings, and we'd discuss different things with them. And I'd like to see that come back. And I think the idea that they've worked a long day and to expect them to come at night is a poor excuse for not allowing us access to, you know, to the people whose salaries we all pay. And I think we have a lot of talented staff in the community that works for the community and works for the city of Nashua. And I think people should, it'd be nice if the citizens knew who these folks were, what they look like. I mean, you know, I want to get that back to where it once was. And I just think the idea of them not being able to attend committee meetings is just ridiculous. And
Well, I mean, your committee meetings usually start at what, 7?
7 o'clock.
And maybe put them in the front of the meeting too, so they don't have to stay late. Because I know some of your meetings are a little late.
Yeah, some of them go late. But I mean, you know, that's mainly budget. But you know, for the most part, when we have a lot of policy to set, you know, having an engineer there from Public Works or whatever to discuss some of the, you know,
technical parts.
some of the technical parts of you know, some of the guidelines that we have to meet and why we have to meet them. I mean, I'm not a traffic engineer, you know, I don't think anybody on the board is, but it's nice to have that expertise, which we pay for, to come in and give us a little guidance. And, you know, I really am going to move strongly in that direction to have these folks come down. And quite frankly, I think these folks want to interact with us.
I think they do.
I think this
people do.
this muzzle approach, and it's denied day in and day out. You know, it's just an uneasy situation, and I'd like to see the morale of the city employees and their interaction with the elected bodies.
Right.
I mean, you go to a Public Works meeting, every department head is at a Public Works meeting. You go to a Board of Aldermen's meeting, they don't let them go. Why is that? You know, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
And, you know, granted, the Public Works Board is the employer board, and, you know, these people, they put, you know, the directors and the department heads, superintendents, whatnot, put things on the agenda to be approved. And then the approvals, you know, more often they don't have to come to the Finance Committee. Well, these same people don't come to the Finance Committee. But they'll go to the Public Works meeting to tell the Public Works Commission why they need this, what's it for, and where the money's coming from. But when it comes to the Finance Committee, we get talking points from the administration, and if you drill deeper into the subject matter, there's questions that need to be answered. And I think it would be more a thorough process. And quite frankly, I don't think the department heads would mind one bit. I think they'd like to interact with us.
You know, the way you speak about that, I served on Public Works Committee up in Concord a couple of years ago, and we were very often having people in from the Public Works.
So the governor actually let the employees come in and talk to the Public Works Commission in Concord.
Yeah, I don't know the guy who was plowing the streets, but, you know, the technical people that were.
Right. Those are the people, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I interact with a lot of the employees. I speak with them. I see them. My involvement in the community, you know, with the recreation programs and things of that nature. You get to know a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And they're regular guys. That's what I tell them. I'm just a regular guy. I'm like you. And, you know, I mean, and, you know, I hear things, I see things, and, you know, we all want to get the best for our tax dollar, and we want things done. And, and there's only so much money to go around, and I think for the most part, we have some, very talented city employees that do an outstanding job with, with what they have to deal with. And, I would just like to have more of an open relationship and dialogue with them in a public setting than what's been going on the last couple of terms.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that worked well for us up there. We seem to be able to have that. Not that you go around the top echelon, but because you get right down to the guy who's responsible to carry out some of those elements of the program.
Right. I mean, I think it's just good. It garners a good relationship. I mean, I received a phone call from the chief of police, and I'm going to set a meeting up with the alderman-elect to go over to the police department, and what they do is they give you a thorough walkthrough of their operations. And it's very intense. It's kind of long because it's a big facility, and there's a lot that's provided that a lot in the community don't know about. Although it's public information, but there's different departments and different divisions within the police department, and I always think it's good that the alderman-elect get a full grasp, if they can, their first time around, to see exactly what the police department does, and what they provide to the community. And the fire department's the same way. I mean, people look at the fire department as, we have a number of firehouses in town. We have 120 firefighters, and we have staff, administrative staff and things of that nature. But the fire department does, they respond to. If you look at their responses and their equipment and the amount of things that they do, I mean,
Safety training and all that.
It's a blanket insurance policy for the community. Yeah. It's like any other insurance policy. It costs money, but you know what? When you need those people and those departments to be there, they're there. I mean, it's something we have to have, and we have some very talented people, and that are police and firemen, as well as school teachers and things of that nature. So I mean, another thing I want to do is a couple things I'd like to do. One would be to start meeting periodically, even quarterly with our delegation. And I'm going to talk to a few people about setting that up, and meeting with our delegation. The mayor has an individual that goes up, and Mr. Alaconis, I'm sure you know him, and he speaks with our delegation. But I think it'd be nice if the Board of Aldermen met directly with the delegation and spoke with them. So we're, when there's things that affect the city of Nashua, we want to give a strong voice as one, or whatever the case may be. That, I think it's interesting that, right now, Mr. Alaconis, he goes up and he takes the city's position on what he's told to take a position on. And the Board of Aldermen isn't even really involved with any of the opinions of the positions that are taken on legislation in Concord. Not saying, I mean, I've looked at some of it, not saying that my opinion is to the contrary, but I still think that should be...
Well, are you aware of the legislation that's going? Does he give you any kind of briefing like he gives all the
we get these quarterly briefings. I think they're quarterly, but...
Because it happens faster than that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just...
you're going to be hit in the first 2 months of next year with over 1,000 bills that are sitting up there.
And while we have a state representative, the Honorable Pamela T. Brown, so she'll be a good conduit for us. I mean, she's serving in, wearing 2 different hats, and I think we can speak with her. I'm going to speak with her more in depth about that, and see what she has to say about it. The other thing I want to do is, I'd like to do is have some meetings with the Board of Education. And Mr. Farrington he's board president-elect for the Board of Education, and I want to contact him about, setting up some times, and, once our term gets going, probably into the second quarter of the term, and meet with them and ask them, how's it going? What issues are you having? I think it's good to have some discussion with them as well.
What problems you're going to have when the budget comes up.
Yeah, just so everybody has a basic understanding, and we can all get on the same page. I mean, and same with our larger departments. Like, I mean, I can go through the city financials and track, what's going on, what the spend rate is in different areas and stuff. But it's always good to sit down with those in leadership in the different departments and have them, give us an update on how things are going. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Some of the concerns, I don't either. You were talking about making a nice, transparent type of operation where you're
Absolutely.
communicating with the administration, with the Board of Education, with whoever else makes you aware of some of their concerns rather than wait until it comes to a decision point.
Right.
And then you all,
That gets old real
Yeah,
fast. I mean,
right.
there's no need of jamming stuff through at the last minute, and quite frankly, a lot of that stuff went on, and I'm not a believer in that. I'm a believer in process. I'm a believer in policy. We have committee structures and things like that. So it should follow its normal path, and I want to see that come back. I mean, we have plenty of time. And I think that, if we get on the upper side of the curve by meeting with these folks, I mean, we all want what is best for the community, whether it's the elderly or the children or the middle class, whomever it may be. But, we have to, everyone, we have to talk, discuss issues, and understand how things are going, citywide. And I'm gonna spend some time. I'm gonna spend some time speaking with some of these department heads and division directors, until I'm told not to do that anymore. But I'm gonna ask them to come attend some meetings, and I'm gonna encourage the committee chairs, once appointed, to contact these folks and have them come in.
Sure.
So the public gets to know who they are, so we can have some open discussion with them. I don't foresee it as as sitting there beating on anybody about anything. I think, if there's problems or there's deficiencies or whatever the case may be, or efficiencies for that matter, it'd be nice that everyone was on the same page. So that's, I want to open this up a little bit, quite a bit, and get away from this, these meetings and discussions had behind closed doors and all this other stuff. I think that we're better off discussing things in the public, so the public has a good idea about what's going on.
And as you say, hopefully no surprises come up.
Right. Well, you're always going to have a few, but I mean, at least
Let's
if you
minimize
could,
it.
Right, minimize it, and you can see things coming down the pike. I mean, the police department's been very good about updating us, but the problem is that one of the problems is that a lot of these divisions and departments answer directly to the mayor. So if the mayor doesn't want to be friendly about it, I mean, we can only do what we can do, and I guess we can just drive the point home somehow.
Okay.
That
Do you
this
think
is
you have to work on the communications with the mayor? Because she's been on here too, and
well,
she seems to think that she has a fairly transparent operation.
Well, I'm not going to question her transparency. I just question some of the motive and some of the policy that's not followed like it should be. And I just think that the community would be better served if the public knew what was going on all the time. I mean, I have people come up and ask me, where did this come from? Why did you act on this at the last minute? Why do people sit there and say nothing and vote for things that nobody has any idea what it is? I'm like, I can't control that, but maybe now we can at least try to, change some of what's gone on in the past. And I'm not going to sit here and belittle the administration or the mayor or anybody else that works for them. But the bottom line is the Board of Aldermen sets policy, and we have authority. And if the authority turns to the point where, measures have to be used to get people's attention, then perhaps a majority of the board may take to that. But I really don't want to go down that road. I'd rather have a little cooperation without confrontation, as one of my former
And that cooperation
colleagues.
takes a little bit more effort, but it's worth it.
Right, in the long run, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
It is worth it. I mean, it's just, it's frustrating at times. This past term has been extremely frustrating, for me anyways. I mean, but you roll with the punches, and that was,
Well, do you anticipate any real problems with the budget this year?
hopefully not. I mean, I think, I'm going to, once I get the committee surveys back in, we'll take a good hard look at it and see if we put a couple of newly elected aldermen in there. I mean, there's going to be a Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock in the mayor's office is going to be a little orientation on 2 items anyways, the Parkway and the downtown sidewalk project, which is the 2 items that I was told were going to be discussed with the alderman-elect. And then the city clerk is in the process of planning an orientation, and I'm going to try to get together with, I'm going to contact some of the division directors and see if I can, with the legislative manager, and try to put something together just to help these newly elected officials out, so
Sure.
they can, they can hit the road running here and give them a little swing up on understanding. And and I've told them, basically, ask any questions you want to ask. No question is foolish. Believe me, when I was first elected, I asked more questions, and
It's the only way you're going to learn.
it's the only way you're going to learn. And it's I have patience with that because I went through it. Some of it's really difficult to learn right away. Some other stuff people can pick up on right away, but it's not a big deal to ask the questions. I mean, that's what life's all about, and if you don't understand something, then ask. I mean,
One of the things, I'm going to ask you a question about the Board of Education and its budget. It seems to me a little confusing as to whether or not we've accepted this Common Core thing.
I don't believe we have.
I don't think technically we have.
No.
But as I understand it, certain things are being done as if we had, as far as getting people ready to follow the procedures in Common Core, to look at how standards are set up, et cetera.
Well,
and
I don't know what they're using for funds to.
Well, that's what that was exactly my question.
Yeah,
Where
if
do the
they're
funds come
pushing the
from?
envelope on that when it hasn't been adopted, then it'd be interesting to find out how much money was spent on something that
Right. And that's something that should be brought out because
Yeah.
it's very controversial, and you
Oh, yeah,
saw
I know.
Manchester turned it down, and several other school districts have turned it down.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen here. I have a feeling that it's going to be turned down here too. But that's just from what I've.
The concept is
Right.
good, but from what I hear, the things that make up the details,
Yeah.
that make up the implementation
Yeah.
of the program
It's-
are questionable.
Yeah, there's a lot of questionable parts of it, and education is it's our most expensive part of our operating budget, and
I
it's
think one of the most important parts of
yeah,
developing
absolutely.
your
I mean,
future.
you gotta, I see a lot of young people, and I'll ask them if I'm at a store or something, what school are you going to? Well, I'm still in high school. Well, good for you. Get your diploma.
Yeah.
You have no idea what that means.
Oh, yeah.
When these kids are, I just look at the bad thing about the whole education thing is the loans. It's almost like they're setting these kids up for failure. They're taking out loans that they're never going to be able to pay back. My daughter has them. I have some of them for my son. It's just, they're crippling. And, if you look at, 100,000, 125,000 to get a master's or a doctorate or a master's degree, it depends. But it's just a lot of money. And, getting back to local, our school district, our educational services are very important to the community. I mean, it's not it's nothing I take lightly, and sometimes I'm portrayed as anti-teacher and things of that nature, and I'm like, you know what? My father was a teacher, my sister was a teacher. It's in my family. I mean, and my sister taught for over 30 years. So I mean, it's like anything else. A lot of it has to do with these contracts that they bring in and things of that, similar to that. But the most important part of it, the thing that bothers me at times is the adult-focused issues. Well, let's look at the kids first. And, you know, granted, people need to make a living, and I understand that. But, you know, there's an affordability issue with the taxpayers. We want to deliver a good education to our children because, you know, these are the kids that are going to be helping us as we age. And, you know, we want to make sure that, you know, they get a good head start on life. And it's extremely important, you know.
Well, you talk about Common Core standards for learning ability. There's standards for the financial part of it, too. And I don't know if people understand that. You have certain standards of growth, you know, depending on the combination. I mean, was it 80% of the budgets for the salaries and stuff? So, I mean, you know, that's a big part of it. You have to watch that.
Yeah, this...
Just like you do in any business.
Yeah, it's, it'll be interesting to, you know, when the Board of Education convenes in January sometime, it'll be interesting to see what Mr. Farrington takes up. I know when I talked to Mr. Farrington briefly one day when I was putting up a couple of signs, and you know, one of his biggest concerns was when you looked at the Board of Education's goals and objectives, they had pages of them.
I heard about that.
And George is more like,
Over 100?
you know what? Yeah, George is like, hey, let's take 10 of those.
Yeah.
Let's just deal with 10 of them.
Yeah.
And you know, have the board just these are our 10 goals.
Yeah.
And the rest of the stuff, you know, put under the carpet for now, and just focus. You know, instead of being, you know, all over the place, trying to satisfy a position or a portion of each one of the goals, they would, you know, go to a goal, hit that goal, and complete it. And that was one of his frustrations when I was talking to him. Is just too much stuff on the table, way too much stuff, you know. And so I think that's one of his priorities. So he's a good guy. He's been around. I've known him for a while, and he served before. And
well, maybe we'll look at a little bit of smoother operation because this last year didn't seem that smooth. I mean, it was back and forth, and
that's.
Things that kept coming up, and then it gets all the way to the top and gets rejected and sent down again. And there's a little. I don't think you're going to see the contentiousness. I wouldn't think so. I think, you know, I've talked to some of these new aldermen-elect, and you know, they're like Ken Siegel, for instance. He's got a vested interest in making sure the kids are educated, and you know, like everyone else in the community, and you know, he's taken an interest in that. And I know Dan Moriarty has an interest in it, as well as all of my colleagues. I mean, you know, it's not just because it's about the children. It's, you know, it's more than just that. Well, you got a couple new people in there. I guess they got a little frustrated and wanted to get in there and feel that they could help right the ship a little bit.
Yeah, Dottie Oden was another one. She was a former teacher.
Right.
And I've known her for a while. She's a nice lady. It's going to be interesting to see what she brings to the table from her perspective, because she's been there, and she's done that, and she's worked in the school district for a long time, and you know, she sees what goes on. She understands. So,
well, I liked it because I saw new people getting in. Not every one of them got elected, but a good number did, and I think that shows that the people are interested and they think that they can contribute something. And I think more people should be interested, should find out what's going on, not only locally, but on the county and the state.
Yeah.
And participate in some of these hearings. Make sure your voice is heard.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's just so much that goes on. I mean, it's a lot of it's interesting, a lot of it's monotonous, but I mean, you just, you know, the citizens' involvement is, you know, to me is crucial. I mean, I've had people call me up and thank me for things, and I've had other people call me up and
question out.
Oh yeah, just, you know, what are you thinking? What are you doing? And I just give them my perspective on it. I said, you know, we can agree to disagree. I mean, this is how I felt about it. I mean, it's you know, through what I was given for information and what I gathered up myself, and I don't take my votes lightly, and my vote isn't swayed by lobbying efforts on anyone.
But lobbyists too can help you. They can give you it gives you their perspective, but they also can give you some details, I found. And
Yeah, well, maybe at your state level, but I mean, the lobbying that goes on locally is either amongst colleagues or the
Oh, okay.
administration or whatever the case may be, but I don't really, I never really approached any of my colleagues and asked them, you know,
To vote
you got
the
to
way
vote
you
like this.
yeah.
I just don't do that. I mean, because I look at it, you know, your vote is sacred.
Mm-hmm.
You're elected to vote. I'm not going to go over there and tell you how to vote, and I don't think anybody else should be doing that either.
But you'll be vocalizing your perspective.
Right, and hopefully people will look at your perspective, and it might sway them if you want to call and consider that a lobbying point. But basically, it's, you know, it's during the debate portion
right.
of any bill. But you know, you just try to, you know, do what's best for the community, and you know, so you don't have these continued lopsided votes with things with little debate, no discussion, brought in for second readings before it's been brought to committee. And I think this new board is going to have a different perspective on a lot of the policy, as well as a lot of the availability of being able to interact with city employees and things like that. I mean, that has to change. And I don't care what's stated publicly to the paper or on TV or whatever. We don't have access to city employees. We don't. I don't. I'll send an email to a city employee. Next thing you know, everybody and their brother is copied on the response. So, and I just can't
that's
go
too
around
much.
and speak with people.
Yeah.
Nobody, yeah, because they're fearful. It's just,
You can't operate that
No.
way. You have to have it
no,
open.
there's just,
I've had that running companies too, where some guys in the middle management are afraid to, you know, they have to protect their own little operation, and therefore, you know, even though you're their boss, they don't want you to go around them. You don't want to, you know, just avoid them, but you also want to be able to talk to anybody, any of the employees.
but it's not really them protecting their own portion of whatever service they provide to the citizens. It's the fact that, you know, we can't interact with them because we're, you know, I think it's Section 42 of the charter will come out that was Aldermanic interference.
Oh, really?
We can't interfere with people. Well, there's a way around that. There's you know, you cut off funding, and then you get people to listen. That's, I mean, if it gets to that, then if a majority wants to do that, then it can be done. But I think, you know, for the most part, you know, we should be able to interact with employees. And I don't mean calling people up all day long and taking up their time and stuff like that. I don't want to do that, and I wouldn't want anybody doing that to me all day either. You know, I mean, if you're trying to perform a function, you know, you want to, you know, you need your time and things like that. But if we have questions that need to be answered or something, I mean, it shouldn't have to be filtered through the mayor's office before it's returned to us, and that's what's done. And I'm living proof of that. I have lots of emails I can show anybody what happens, or I'll raise the questions at a meeting. I sent the director an email and I asked this question. I know that. Well, I know you know it, although I didn't put you on distribution, Mayor. The director sent it to you because your policy is any emails from any alderman are to be sent to me. You know, so that's fine, but we can't even interact with you know, there's a perfect example of not being able to interact with a division director or a department head. But hopefully that'll change and people will loosen that up. But
We'll like to see what happens. I think we'll have you back here in about 3 months maybe and see how.
yeah, we'll swing
how
by
other
and
things,
see how the ship's floating, whether it's like this or like that, or.
and
But
where the holes are from the cannons from the.
Well, you know, I'm excited to get going. I think we have a good group of people. We have school projects that are in the works. We have a large wastewater project that's in the works. Everybody knows the sewer rate just went up, but you know, there's a lot of things going on, and I think from my perspective, the Board of Aldermen plays a major role in all of that. Contrary to the beliefs of some, I mean, it's up to us to make those decisions, and we have that authority. And I think it's time for us to start using our authority the way we're elected to, and not just roll over. So it's going to be a fun time, I think.
We'll be looking forward to hearing from you. So good luck and everything, and people can come down. How can they contact you? I mean, your email or phone number?
I have an email. I think that he put it up on the screen, and my home telephone number is 882-9617. That's still a phone that's attached to a wall.
Ah.
I still have one of those. So.
Well, very good.
All
David.
right.
Thank you very much, and good luck on your chairmanship.
All right. Thank you very much, Carl.
Thank you.